Hi again. My name is Juliet, and welcome back to Child Protection Chronicles. First of all, we want to say that we are very grateful for the support that you have given us and the likes, the shares, the comments that you made. We are so grateful, and yeah, karibuni sana, Miss Eva.
Yes, thank you for the love, the wonderful suggestions on how we can improve, what we can add. Yes, thank you.
Awesome. So before we get to today's business, I would like to ask Miss Eva, what is the darndest, what is the most surprising thing that you have had from a child recently?
The most surprising thing,
Mm-hmm.
would I say surprising or the most unheard of, something I didn't expect a child would tell me is mimi ni wa zamani za kale.
Zamani za kale.
Yani I'm from long time ago.
You're ancient.
Yeah.
You're old. And today we are going to start on a topic that we would like to explore more on, and that is getting to understand who are the children who are in need of care and protection. So from the Children's Act 2022, they have mentioned just over 30 situations or scenarios that make children be in need of care and protection. So today we are going to be discussing some of them. Yeah, and let us see how we can get involved in helping the children. So Miss Eva, do you want to start us off with the first category that comes to your mind?
Yes. So maybe just to pose a question to the audience, did you know that despite you being a parent, a guardian to your child, that the child belongs to you and the government?
The child belongs to the state.
The child belongs to the state. Yeah. So as Miss Juliet has mentioned, child protection is guided by a legal framework that has been adopted from international treaties trickling down to Africa and then the Kenyan law. So Kenya is guided by the Children's Act of 2022, which is a revised edition from
2001.
Yes. So under section 144 of the Children's Act, that is where we can find all these definitions, all these scenarios where a child can be in need of care and protection. So the very first, of course, is the orphan status of a child. So when we talk about an orphan, what does that mean?
This is a child who has lost both parents, father and mother, and in situations where a child was being raised by a single parent, then when they pass away, they are termed as orphans. Yeah.
So a child is not necessarily in need of care and protection because they are an orphan. They are in need of care and protection if they are an orphan, but there is no one to give the guardian or the parent care that this child may require. So an orphan does not really mean that the child is in need of care and protection. They only become in need of care and protection if there is no guardian or any person who can offer the parental guidance that is required for this child. So not every orphan is in need of care and protection. Yes.
Yeah. And then the other one is abandoned children. And for a child to be termed as abandoned in Kenya, it is when they are deserted or their parents have not had contact with them or their guardians for 6 months. And we have found children who are rescued from situations like that is used is lost and found, and their guardians or their parents cannot be found. So they also get into that category. Yeah.
Yes. There are more and more instances. All you need to understand is that not every child who has been found or has been classified under these categories may really require to be probably rescued and placed in an institution. So the government and government officials, those who are duty bearers in child protection, will require to do a needs assessment to assess the gravity of the issue before a child is removed from such a situation. So
there are some situations that are emergencies that need immediate attention. For example, an abandoned child. If you find a child by the roadside, if you find a child dumped at a dumping site, then they need immediate rescue. If you find a child who has been sexually abused, we call it defilement for the girls and not rape, because that is a term that we are going to discuss somewhere down the road. So for children who have been sexually abused, for that such a situation, you need to rescue immediately. Children who have been physically assaulted and have marks or wounds or burns, they also need to be rescued immediately. Children who now go to a level like medium risk are children who you have found that the child is not being educated. So you need to do some investigation, find out why are they not going to school. Yes, and then we have low risk. When a child is an orphan, for example, but they have family members who can take care of them, then that child does not need to be rescued and taken maybe to an institution. Yeah, so for those ones, they would need more investigations. You need to do the needs assessment like you mentioned before you can know what assistance they need to be given. Another category of children who are in need of care and protection are victims of human trafficking. In our country, we've had people taking children from one county to another, and this has been seen especially where they bring them like from Western Kenya to Nairobi for work. So before someone is actually accused of child labor, they've also engaged in inter-county trafficking of a child. Yeah.
also, as beautiful as our culture and religions may be, some of the practices we have engaged in may endanger our children. We take an example of Shakahola, for example.
Yeah.
Our children were subjected to prayer and fasting, which ideally a child is not able to hold, a fast for that long. So our children were also affected by such a practice. We look at our culture, for example, the culture in Maasai. They have a very beautiful culture that we must acknowledge. But there's parts of the culture that are subjecting the child, especially the girl child, to sort of a retrogressive and a backward culture where children are being subjected to female genital mutilation, are being made child marriage as early as 9 years. A child is already a child bride, has been beaded and identified for prospective marriage.
Yes.
So it is a culture that has seen most children dropping out of school at the ages of 9 years, because there is no progression in terms of education, because the culture already has dictated that at 9 years this child is suitable for marriage. Yes.
Yeah, and we've also seen children whose parents are engaged in court issues, litigation matters, like custody and maintenance, or a family member finds themselves in a court matter that jeopardizes the well-being of a child. That child may need to be removed from that situation because they end up being in need of care and protection. And then the other category of children is the ones whose parents find themselves convicted. Those parents who are either in remand or imprisoned, and you find that these children, of course, they're in need of care and protection. Some of them accompany their parents to jail, but again, there's a time limit. Mostly it's 0 to 4 years, because at the age of 4, a child needs to go to school. So this is another group of children who need to be taken care of. Yeah.
So adding on to the categories we have mentioned today, to add on to those categories, we need to also discuss issues of war and natural calamities that affect our nation and other nations.
Yeah.
In places where war especially has broke out, like in the case of our post-election violence that happened in the country, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Most children were displaced because their parents probably were engaged in the post-election violence. Probably the parent went out, never came back.
Yes.
So where did these children go? Majority of them are probably absorbed by their relatives, but some who did not have relatives probably are still in institutional care to date. So those are children who were affected by the war that broke out in our country. There are other countries that are also at war or have been at war recently. Cases like Ukraine, places like DRC, for example. Those are places where the children, remember when war and natural calamities and disasters happen, the vulnerable of the community are the ones who are affected. And who are the vulnerable in our community? Women and children.
And old people.
And old people. So our children are also being affected by these calamities by default. It's not them wishing or even wanting to be in these situations.
Yeah.
So it is up to us as parents to also be very careful with the situations our children are finding themselves into.
All right, and with that, we would like to know from you, would you be able to identify a child who's in need of care and protection with the information that we have shared? And also, for further reading, please check out Section 144 of the Children's Act 2022. It has listed all these issues, just over 30 scenarios, and where you are as a parent, as a teacher, as a caregiver, as a person working in institutions like schools or children's homes, even a church, right? Yeah, or even a mosque. Would you be able to identify a child who's in need of care and protection? And the reason we ask this is many times when children are found in risky situations, when children are found probably abused, sometimes there will be witnesses who will say, every time I used to hear this child being beaten, but we cannot get involved with people's issues. But then when the abuse happens, then now you want to come out and say that you're a witness, it has been happening. What if you did something to help the child before it escalated to them being hurt? So until next time, keep checking out Section 144 and let us know how you would identify some of these issues. Thank you very much.